Hey, this is Mike Colleen again. I'm going to get part two to meaning and what does that mean. Remember, buy my book, crackedfemalecode.com, and click the subscribe button. This is Cracked Female Code. Alright, remember, the right brain is always looking for meaning, and that's something guys get really angry about. And women learn as they get older. Like, I've learned never to ask a man, what does that mean? Or what does that mean? And I said, why? He's like, no, men get really mad. And I do remember in my 20s getting very mad until I learned this. And I've watched my parents, football coaches, I've watched a lot. A friend of mine, his dad did this it was actually a couple months ago. And I pointed out to my buddy, he goes, that's not funny. I'm like, no, you don't understand. The way a woman processes information, I'm going to be real simple. The right brain is always looking for meaning. It's wired that way. It can't help it. So that's something you're going to have to learn as a pattern or process and learning how to communicate in a way that her right brain will go, oh, okay. So let me bounce off the last one. So as I said, I helped a lady save her marriage based on this one thing. Well, what happened is her husband would come home from work and she would say, well, how was your day? And he's like, oh, it was fine. It was okay. It was good. It was great. And I said, well, then what? She said, well, then usually he'd go in the kitchen or he'd go watch TV or do whatever. I'm like, okay, and? She's like, well, I don't understand. I go, you don't understand what? Why won't he tell me how his day was? And I said, he just did. That's what men do. So I go, well, what would you do? She goes, well, I would follow him into the TV room, let's say. I'm like, okay. And then I would quietly and I'd pry and I go, you'd pry. And she's like, well, I want to know what happened. And so she would ask him, well, how was your day? And he would say, I told you it's fine. And then she goes, I'd come back a few minutes later and say, well, what's wrong? He's like, there's nothing wrong. Why does everything have to be wrong? And I told her to stop this because you're going to drive him away. I go, you're really creating problems where there is no problem. And so here, let me get the fish tank in a little bit. There we go. Got to have that fish tank in there. And so what happened was eventually, sure enough, he moved away and she called me up again. Like, I don't understand what am I, he actually got his own place and he moved out. They're still together. And so I was like, what's going on? She's like, well, there's something wrong, but he won't tell me. I go, okay, stop. Why do you think something's wrong? She goes, well, I go, it's because there's a process in your brain, the right brain, I should say, that's always looking for what's wrong. And it was designed to take care of infants, and women are very adept at this and very good at noticing when one little thing is wrong. In fact, it's kind of a pattern. They're always looking for this, whereas the male brain isn't so much. Women, in my opinion, according to a lot of books, one is, I believe it's called The Female Brain by Luann Brizendine. I believe she talks about it in that book. There's a couple other psychology books I've read. But it's true. Women are much better at finding this and noticing this. The problem is when a woman tries to apply this to a male unconsciously. I'm not saying she was doing this consciously. It's a pattern. It's just like a system that runs. And she kept applying this to her husband. And I'm like, look, when a man says he's fine, he literally means he's fine. Because remember, the male brain, A means A, and that's all it means. But the female brain goes left brain A to right brain B. And guys, you're going to have to understand she can't help it. She's wired that way to look for a deeper meaning, a deeper spiritual meaning. And as my football coach had screamed at his wife, there's no deeper meaning. There doesn't always have to be a meaning. It just is what it is. And I remember screaming at my ex-girlfriend in not eighth grade, in my 20s. And I stopped myself and I started to laugh because I was like, oh, well, what, you want to know the meaning? She goes, yeah. It's like, well, when I say this, I mean that. She goes, oh, okay. Guys, it is that simple. So here's what happened. So for months and even years, he would come home from work and she would walk up to him and say, oh, well, how was your day? And he would say it was fine. So now remember, her left brain is just like yours and goes, oh, click. Okay, he's fine. But then her right brain goes, well, what does that mean? What does that really mean? What's the deeper meaning of that? And if you don't tell her that in detail, she's going to think something is wrong. And as I'm teaching this to her, she starts laughing. She goes, I always do this. I can't help it. I was like, no, I know. I understand that. But he doesn't understand that. And he's looking at you like, well, what do you mean? What does it mean? Or deeper meaning? Or, it doesn't have, there is no meaning. And so when she learned that, she started to laugh at herself. And she began to realize, like, when he says he's fine, he literally means he's fine. All right? So, I'm trying to think of one other thing that is a part of this that I taught her. So, oh yeah. So basically, okay, this is what I'm going to say. So, guys, it's the same thing when you walk up to girls, say, "You're pretty, you're beautiful." You know, I ask a lot of guys, why is it that women don't like that? And the typical response across the board from guys is, oh, women are sick and tired of hearing that they're beautiful and pretty and cute. I'm like, really? I don't think so. Here's what's going on. Her left brain goes, okay, you think I'm beautiful. Then her right brain goes, what does that mean? And if you don't tell her and then tell her what that means and describe both of those, it's an incomplete sentence to her. Like, what is it about her that you think's beautiful? Is it her hair, her eyes, the way she walks, the way she moves? You need to tell her. Is it a combination of things? And then you need to describe what about those things, each in detail, that you find to be beautiful. You can't just say, oh, it's your coat. Oh, it's the way you walk. She's going, what about the way I walk? You know, you've got to explain it. And I'm not saying make something up. Be honest. Go say, well, what is it about her that you like? And then tell her. When you start to see things more from the female's brain's perspective, it really does make sense because she's kind of lost going, okay, you think I'm beautiful. What does that mean? And now, okay, here's my point. So when you don't tell her right brain what that means and then describe it in detail, her right brain goes, there's something missing here. Why won't he tell me? Oh, he's lying. He's just taking a shortcut. He just wants sex. Yeah, screw him. So women automatically assume you're lying. Like, guys, how many times have you told a woman directly, which is not the right thing to do, told her directly the truth, and she didn't believe you? She's like, oh, you're lying. You're like, I'm not. The male language is not processed by the female's right brain, and she automatically, something's wrong here. He's hiding something, and that's what they think because you're not telling them. So she can't see it, she can't hear it, she can't feel it. So you're obviously hiding it. And this is why women will say, well, why won't he open up to me? He is. When he says A, he means A. The next video, I'll explain how men express themselves. This is Mike Colleen at Crack the Female Code, or MikeColleen.com is the homepage. Remember, subscribe to find out more. Thank you.